first time. Now, it's interesting when you get these reverse grids, when you get the winners from yesterday on the back of the grid from today, that they take in order to make those places up. Ryan Smith being very conservative on that opening that, letting all the field sort themselves out at the front. And David Jenkins making up those positions nice and early on, got himself up into third place. There is enough time to make up places, and I'm sure Ryan Smith is biding his time.
I think Jenks is up into second place now, and Ryan Smith is up to fourth. So basically,
there are quite a few trucks that
under the bridge at the end of the bend straight, they threw that caution out of the window and decided to really get their elbows out and throw it in. So yes, it is 95 Richard Collins, 69 David Jenkins up into second place, third number 2 Ray Coleman, then it is Ryan Smith there in fourth place, 81 Mark Taylor. He's not going to be delighted with that, sat there in fifth place.
Last truck of the day,
number
the Grand
18,
Prix.
the turquoise and white truck that came, what did he finish, third yesterday, so he got the podium. At the moment he's sat there in sixth place, not going to be happy. And then the 86 truck of Tom O'Rourke from the front row of the grid at the moment is sat there trying to just close the back in again, and a very wide line there from Richard Collett. So up the inside goes Jenks, the number 69 truck side by side, but he's going to have the outside line by the time he gets down, or is he going to have that sign sealed and delivered before he gets there? I think he has, hasn't he? He's been able to sweep across the nose of the 95 Richard Collett. Yes, he has indeed, as he comes back into our sight. He's up into the lead, is Jenkins. Ryan Smith is now trying to move up into third place, not able to do it because Ray Coleman, number 2, the black, yellow and white truck of Ray Coleman, just went not a chance there, but Ryan Smith does it. So it was at that overtaking spot that he was able to make that move. It looked like the chance had gone begging, but nope, he did a late lunge up the inside in towards Agostini, up into third place. As you can see Jenkins disappear off into the distance. He needs to get past the 95 truck of Collett as soon as possible.
The plan for Jenks, I think, was to make up as many places as early as he could, to allow Ryan Smith to be maybe a little bit more held up, and to see if Jenks could make a break that Ryan Smith wasn't able to do anything else about as the race unfolds. Whether he's been able to do that or not, I'm not sure, because Ryan Smith already making up those places. He's there in third place. Down out of our sight they go down the Bentley straight down towards Brundle and Nelson, and although David Jenkins, it is the lead.
He possibly would have liked it to have worked a little bit better, but I think it's gone okay to plan, not too bad, is it? Because you can see that still Ryan Smith, that white number 1 truck, is stuck behind Ricky Collett, the 95 yellow truck as it stands at the moment, sweeping round the right-hander. Are we going to see Smith look towards the inside? Surely too tight at Murray's in these big trucks. Yes, it is exactly that. So he's tried to make sure he's got the run through there. He dropped back a little bit so he can carry his speed through the apex of the corner, and he's now on the start-finish straight, trying desperately to find a way to power past Ricky Collett, but Collett's got the inside line covered as they head down towards Richard. Ryan Smith trying the old switcheroo, then changes his mind, goes towards the outside, realises it wasn't on. Now he's trying to dive up the inside. Ricky Collett's been forced towards the outside. Has that moved? No is the answer. Wow, great defending, but also great attempts at sort of like the quickest game of chess that you possibly could play.
Jenks is going to be very pleased about this, that Richard Collett is keeping Ryan Smith behind at the moment, because it enables him to continue to consolidate this advantage that he's got as they go side by side. Is Ryan Smith going to take it? He's on the outside line as they go into Palmer's. They're out of our sight. How will they emerge? David Jenkins emerges on the run down towards Agostini. They're still side by side, and it's the advantage coming out of the corner for Richard Collett. So Collett still has second. Ryan Smith cannot find a way past.
And Collett deliberately swept towards the left-hand side to cover the inside line of the hairpin at Agostini, and that's compromised Ryan Smith to the point that Ray Coleman came back at him. But now the inside line is open as they head towards the left-hand kink of Hamilton. Very fast that part. Through goes Ryan Smith. He's prized that open. He created that gap from about 3 corners back, I would venture, and it has at last worked. And he's thrown the anchors out the back for the tight right-hander, because we saw that previously, didn't we? Is that if you suddenly make a move going in towards Hamilton, you take too much speed into the right-hander of Oggies and you disappear onto the grass. But not this time. Ryan Smith has done it, and now that he's made the move, he's already pulling away from Collett, and in fact that 95 truck is falling back into the clutches of number 2 Ray Coleman, I would venture, as well.
Ryan Smith has got a deficit to make up now, and Jenks has been trying to extend that gap at the end of the last lap. Very safe position, wasn't it? 2.61 seconds.
Amazing. I mean, all of you down there at Rutherford now must be loving it when they come screaming or thundering, shall I say, back into our view under the bridge, and they are fighting. And now we've got the mouth-watering prospect of Ryan Smith desperately trying to not only close that gap down, but Jenks is going to defend like his life depends on it if he does manage to catch him. So we could yet have that to raise its excitement. 7.5 minutes left to go. Truck number 2, which is Coleman, track limits warning for him. And we were getting this a lot yesterday, weren't we? Track limits warnings for these trucks.
It was 2.6 between first and second. Now Ryan Smith has been delayed whilst trying to get past Ricky Collett. It's now 5.058 of a second, the gap between first and second. So there is a little mountain to climb for Ryan Smith. And at the moment, if Jenks puts everything neat and tidy and doesn't make any kind of mistake, even if Ryan Smith by the end of the race were able to have closed that gap, it's one thing to close the gap. It's another thing to pass, as he's already discovered with Richard Collett.
The thing to be aware of is that you've got to, unless Jenks has been busy overnight, is that yesterday his fastest lap was a 2:25.045. He's just done a 2:25.052. So as it stands at the moment, he's kind of reached his peak with lap time wise at the moment, unless he's able to dig something special out. Whereas Ryan Smith yesterday did a 2:24.3. So there could be some serious lap times. Now he's got the fresh air bit in front and behind. He's not having to defend. He's able to focus forwards and therefore could well find himself able to reel that in. We had a change there up into 5th place. Has gone the number 18 truck of John Newell. John Newell enjoyed the podium yesterday. He's off of it as it stands at the moment, but he's now joined onto the back of the 2 trucks that are fighting for that 3rd step. So John Newell can sniff the possibility of a second podium in a row. What a start to the Sunday that would be for him, with 2 races today instead of only their 1 that they had yesterday, plus the grand final where we mix them all up, albeit grid, but at the same time. So keep an eye on that point. Number 18 is going to be coming back as well. Ryan Smith already exited Nelson and through the bottom. Jenks in the lead. What are we going to see this time? 5-0 that last time. I would suspect there's a chance that's come down anything from half a second to a second this time round. And we'll see what Ryan Smith's able to do now. He's in that fresh air, and he's done that battle through without, by the looks of it, any bodywork damage that could compromise him.
Yeah, which is very good news indeed. They mentioned a couple of times yesterday that the racing had been very clean, which is good news, which it needs to be in truck racing. It's quite an important part. There might be a little bit of a rubbing, but it can't get too boisterous out on circuit just because of the sheer size of the machines they're racing. So it has come down, but only by a couple of tenths of a second that time. 4.8 the difference between Ryan Smith and David Jenkins. We are under 5 minutes of the race remaining. 4 minutes and 40 seconds to be exact, and 4.8 seconds the deficit from second to first.
Yeah, and that was a new personal best lap time by Ryan Smith in second, but that white number 1 truck still not down to the times that we saw him doing yesterday. So it's not quite as sweet as he was enjoying yesterday. Great to see this fight between 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th, basically, still all joined together. John Newell made a little bit of a mistake by the looks of it coming out of Wilson in that white and turquoise number 18 truck that's actually put him back into the clutches of Mark Taylor. Now that 81 truck of Mark Taylor arrived here 3rd in the championship standings. He's not going to be particularly happy with how this race is panning out for him as it stands at the moment. He's a long way down, sat there in 6th position. But you can see he's on the back of this. That means that he could get himself up into 3rd with a bit of a fair wind. But really, Ryan Smith is trying desperately to do it. How hard do you think Ryan Smith's going to fight, though, for this? Because he's still sat there in 2nd. Is there a damage limitation and a thought process about the championship?
In the years that I've watched Ryan Smith competing, I've only ever known him to have 1 mode, and that's absolutely flat out.
True. That included yesterday, didn't it, when he was a country mile in the lead, and yet he was still pushing hard.
Really pushing on, yeah.
Yeah, good point. It was a romantic notion, wasn't it?
It was, worth the discussion.
And then remember I was talking nonsense, but yeah, there we go. It's like there in that second place, going to try desperately to close into the back of Jenks. And third position is the yellow number 95. Actually managed to put away the couple going on behind him. So he's got Ray Coleman, the number 2 black, white with the yellow flash down the middle of the black and white sections.
Colin's got really good pace today, hasn't he?
Well, he did yesterday, didn't he? Until he made that mistake right at the end that dropped him and meant he came through last. I think I heard comments about the fact that he's like welded the diff or something like that because water was getting in somewhere and it just suddenly didn't work out for him. And some people going, he did what? So they have to try various different things on these racing juggernauts. The gap is down to 4.5 now because the lap time went down to a 2:24.6. Incidentally, for the first time, Jenks is down to 2:24s as well. We've got a challenge down in towards Riches, have we? It looked like John Newell was sort of posturing at the very least to make a challenge on Ray Coleman, but Coleman just saw it coming, stuck to his racing line so that he was going to take the greatest speed through that first corner at the end of the centre straight. And it wasn't possible. But yes, sorry, Jenks got down to the 2:24s for the first time this weekend, so he is certainly aware that Ryan Smith is now second, isn't he?
And has just put in the fastest lap of the race in his pursuit of the leader, a 2:24. 6.48 for Ryan Smith in second place. That's brought the deficit down to 4.5 of a second. Jinx put in a personal best, 2 minutes 24.980. So just 0.3 of a second difference between those two lap times, but it's the overall fastest lap of the race. Currently with the second place truck of Ryan Smith.
Well, we can hear, yes, just going through, Agostini coming back into our sights. There's the number 2 truck, got very wild there, and it looks like John Newell, actually, we only just suddenly saw him reappear from behind the trucks. We could hear that, couldn't we, Alan, from miles away, and we're just desperately trying to see where it came from. So that got a bit leery there. We did see that Newell was posturing for a challenge on the number 2 truck of Coleman. That did not work out for either of them. Up into, what would that be, 4th position. That looks like the 81 truck of Mark Taylor. So that is damage limitation for him, 4th as he sits 3rd in the championship. But it means that Colin now is stuck there in that 1st position as it's down. Just suddenly come down. Maybe that's an optical illusion as they make their way towards or through the bomb hole. I think it was just an optical illusion at the end of the Bentley straight, but they're coming towards us for the final time for this particular race. It's going to be fairly close. They're going to sneak across for one more lap. I'm pleased about that, Alan. I've got to be honest.
It's a super race, isn't it? And fascinating to see how it pans out. And David Jenkins goes across the line now. Ryan Smith goes across the line now with a 2-second advantage. So another fast lap is a slower lap for Jenkins, a 2:27.202, a 2:24.768. We're grateful for the final lap because this is going to be exciting.
It is, and so it wasn't an optical illusion as the damaged number 2 truck of Coleman goes through, and Newell's got damage on the front of it. So yeah, it can work out what happened there into Agostini then, and the lunge looked on, but it didn't quite work. But yes, so has Jenkins got a bit of a problem? Has he sort of damaged those tyres by going so hard so early? We know that he had to. That does not look up to full speed as he gets on the power on the exit of Palmer, heading towards Agostini. Ryan Smith, this is bad news. Never let Ryan Smith smell blood.
He could scent a victory here, can't he, as he closes right up as they go through Agostini. Down towards Hamilton they go. Jenks applies the power. Like I said, it's one thing to close, another thing to pass. It was difficult for Ryan Smith to get past Richard Collett early on, but look how hard he's pushing as he senses the victory and kicks up the dust on the outside of Hamilton. Through Oggies they go up towards Williams, and less than 1 truck length between the two of them. Yeah, I rather think that David Jenkins is going to be wishing the checkered flag had come out at the end of the last lap.
Yeah, absolutely. Something is not quite right now. Ryan Smith was thanking Jenkins for all the help to get him back out there in this borrowed truck. Surely this is no way to repay him and truly say thanks of taking away this victory on this very fast last lap. Under the bridge they go, largely as once, glued together. There's probably about a truck width between them. Through Nelson they go, applying the power desperately as they head towards the bomb hole. It's really going to come down towards this big, fast sweep through Coram. As we look into the distance, we can see them absolutely joined together. It's still the black truck that has the lead. The white Ryan Smith truck, number 1, last year's champion, the championship leader. Desperate to make it 2 out of 2 so far this weekend. Now he's looking up the inside as he has become towards Murray. Surely it's inside then. Not better on, but he's tucked himself behind James' truck. Number 69 has the nod at the moment. Now they're on the power. It's going to be the drag race towards the finish line, and it's Jenkins that's got it. Ryan Smith yards towards the left-hand side. The power is on, and he's coming alongside. He's not going to be able to do it. It goes to number 69.